Stormwood and Associates is a production of the Nerd and Tie Podcast Network. For more podcasts from actual play to true crime to witchcraft, go to nerdandtie.com or join our community on Discord by finding an invite at nerdandtie.com/discord. In pursuit of a stolen magical object, Stormwood and Associates Field Team 623 stepped into a tear between realities and vanished. They found themselves trapped in another plane, facing a reality that was not their own, and driven to avoid dark forces they don't understand. And so, Team 623 finds themselves leaping from world to world, striving to put right what they find wrong, and hoping each time that their next jump will be the jump home. Stormwood and Associates stars Celeste Star Twin as Dee, Gen Proc as Obi, Trae Dorn as Amy, and Becca Johnson as Liz Stormwood. Previously on Stormwood and Associates. So we got this team of people, right? This team of four weirdos, and then those four weirdos started making a podcast where they played four other weirdos who were sent into alternate universes in a truck, which was based off of a truck that did not exist yet when we started, but now the real truck does really exist in the real world, which is why it's very important that we made up a fake company for the truck we do have. But we got a bunch of people living in a truck for an indeterminate amount of time, and that's these people. But rather than being those people, we're going to be ourselves this week, as it is time for us to do a check-in, and Stormwood and Associates stuff. Hi, everyone.
Behind the Associates.
We haven't done like a behind the scenes episode, like a Fireside chat episode, like we've done a couple of these. We did one in the middle of campaign 1, at the end of campaign 1. We haven't done one for campaign 2 yet, and we are like 76 episodes in at the time of this release.
It's about time for one. So
yeah, so we're interrupting space operetta for a little bit of some talk back, and just introducing ourselves. I am, of course, Trae Dorn. Joining me as always is Becca Johnson, who I play Amy. Joining us is Becca Johnson, who plays Liz Stormwood.
Hey.
Also, Dee is played by Celeste Star Twin.
Thank you for playing.
And of course, Obi, played by Gen Proc.
Yeah.
And even though the show has had a consistent cast, half the cast changed their name during this campaign. And I had to re-record that opening twice.
Oops.
It was the second time I had to re-record it. That was the frustrating part. I was like, I just did this. But we are. So campaign 2 is very different from campaign 1 in a lot of respects. And I think that one of the more interesting ones is that, with the exception of the random time jump that we had, in campaign 1, one of the things about the show is that those characters all ostensibly had lives outside of the adventures, right? Like,
yeah.
Like, everyone went home, it's, Kel went out, it's Bill went home and studied, we didn't even know where Raz lived until like the final arc. Like, it was never clear. Like, the first time we see Raz's apartment is when what's his face is the cop is living in it, or like, yeah. Like we 100% don't see a lot of like their home, like we never see the home lives of a lot of the characters in campaign 1 until they go on the run, and then even then we don't spend a lot of time with it. In campaign 2, it's very different because there's no, like, there's time jumps between adventures in campaign 1, right? Like, you know, it sometimes could be weeks or days. You don't know how long it's been since the prior adventure in campaign 1. In campaign 2, everything just goes to the next episode. Like,
It's the next moment.
Yeah, our characters are really probably should shower more, but are we're and when the heck do they end up pooping? That's what I want to know. But yeah, we're pretty much just staying with them the whole time, right? Like, these characters do not have private lives outside of like the core group, and that is, I don't know. Like, how do you feel like that affects like the way we're playing some of this?
I think it's a bit more difficult because, like, yeah, in the previous campaign, you didn't have to think about what our characters were doing in the downtime. You could just say, oh, they went here and did that. You didn't have to actually play it. Yeah. Now, when we say, oh, they went here and did that, we have to play it, you know, so that the story makes sense. And so it's a lot more thinking about, like, oh, you know, what is this character actually, like, doing in their downtime? And how do I play that?
It also sometimes means, like, looking for weird little quirks to figure out where I want my, like, to take, like, character progression.
Yeah.
Because, like, we don't have, like, there's not a good in-story excuse for why would D have a new skill set. Like, I can't come up with that as easily as I could for Bill.
Right.
Whereas, so like, it was really logical for me that I've been my own fixation on gun tricks and D trying to convince herself that she's cool, that like she would want to go with the cowgirl archetype.
Yeah.
Because I was able to kind of hint at that earlier in my playthroughs.
Yeah.
I don't know how well I pulled that off, but I tried to.
Well, and I think we've gotten a lot more of like the emotional interactions between the characters in this campaign, though.
For sure.
Yeah, like
absolutely
not being able to go home and decompress.
Yeah,
they're all just stuck together all the time. It's there's going to be some friction.
Yeah. Well, sorry.
Might I just interject real quick? Becca and Trae, you are so good at playing that friction between characters. My goodness, the tension sometimes is just palpable.
I love the like the situationship between Amy and Liz.
Because that's something we've pointed out
so good
as a difference between the previous campaign. Previous campaign, we didn't really have much for relationships between player characters.
Right. Yeah, like
not intimate ones.
Right, like in campaign 1, we had Babbitt like dated the divorcee and was in theory playing around a lot, and like NK had her relationship with Michelle, but that was all like mostly off screen. And Lord knows what Kel was doing before he became incorporeal. But yeah, and obviously like Raz and Dolores was very fun, but was a pretty chaste situation through most of the appearances of the stuff. But all those were like characters who went away. You know what I mean? Like, it's
right.
Like their character, like with Liz and Amy, like they're in the truck. Like they go to the next place together. There was no like that was. I admittedly, like, so our characters, like, they were getting together and it felt very organic and made a lot of sense, but I also knew that this was going to be a disaster because just like who Amy is and who Liz is, like, these are definitely two people who would get together and then have the worst relationship which is why like I was like it'd be really funny just to do the time skip. And so with that time skip, so going back to that arc, I didn't expect Liz to confess about Brent. Like you went like Liz launched straight into that confession, and I had this whole plan of Amy secretly knowing and not like of like trying to continue the relationship. And like and then you completely foiled my plan. Like completely spoiled it. with Liz's Midwestern guilt overwhelming herself. No, it was...
yeah. I don't know. It was fun.
Well, Brent was so brilliant. Like, so even just the episode where you like introduced the concept of Brent, like into the story, was this amazing moment that like none of us expected. And
yeah, it just kind of came at us.
Oh, it was so awesome. Like, you just drove us into a flashback, and it's, I will say, every time Brent has, a version of Brent has appeared has been my favorite thing. Because I just enjoy, that whole, like, I
just remember, like, when you dropped the initial Brent bomb, like, way in the beginning, I was just like, oh my lord, she actually thought about her character.
Yeah.
I had a vague concept and I ran with it. And it was like, wow, she's so good at like creating like instant depth.
Brent was a thing that I invented when it became clear that Liz and Amy might become a thing. When I realized that, I was like, oh, this needs, I need to do something to fuck this up. cause drama.
Oh, Amy is more than capable of fucking that up all on her own. That's why it's like the interesting part for me was like the getting together I thought was interesting, and then also though the fallout post breakup was interesting. So I was just like, why don't we just get to the good parts of this interaction of just crashing and burning this whole thing, because it's like and I like the fact that like there's this weird power dynamic that then comes with though of like Amy remembers the relationship but Liz doesn't, that like kind of like, and then the complicated emotions that we end up having to play off of that. It was so I loved it because it's so organic in how all of those interactions happened, because like I don't know, like there was a time where I think like you called me out, like Liz called Amy out on like on something, and I don't remember what the exact situation was, but it was this thing where like Amy like was complaining, like was trying to like explain something and didn't even think I
whatever it was a complete microcosm of exactly what Liz has been going through. Yeah, I remember that.
But I as Trae, as the player, did not even think about that. And I don't think Amy would have thought about that until Liz said it. And then it was that moment of stepping back of like, and it was such a great moment to play. That made me so happy.
Oh, good.
Oh,
yeah. The interpersonal relationships in this campaign are like so much more like dramatic and deeper than in the previous one, for sure.
Yeah,
hard agree.
Well, and I think our characters have ended up like, I love Amy and Dee's like weird friendship.
It's extremely uncomfortable in like the best way possible.
I know. It's this whole thing where like Amy hates the fact that she likes hanging out with Dee. It's the best way to say it. Like, and I've enjoyed every single time that like Amy and Dee have like effectively like gone drinking.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it's a very fun dynamic.
Yeah, they have Dee in general has been just such an interesting person to spend time with, I guess. Because she really is my violent leftist id. Like, honestly, like, at the end of the day. Like, I try to work a little bit of things that I'm insecure about into any of my characters because I think it makes them more believable. So, there was a lot of me in Bill, and there's a lot of the other end of me in D, honestly.
D is significantly more awkward than you are. Because D is awkward in a way that she is confident and doesn't know she just made things incredibly awkward.
But I mean, it's a version of me that very much was that person previously. Yeah. And I think that's why I'm so comfortable playing her as such a freaking disaster, which she is.
Yeah. No, she is. It's great.
I love her. She sucks so much. Like, she's a freaking mess, but I enjoy getting to inhabit her and hearing, approaching situations with how is D reacting to this? What is her take on the world and her slight disconnect from reality or ability to read the room? It's good stuff.
Yeah, well, these are like the 3 worst characters to be taking care of a child.
Yeah.
Or the best. Yeah, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah, we've got these deep, complex characters, and I was just like, what if I threw Encyclopedia Brown into the mix? Heck yeah!
Honestly, your performance is okay. I cannot say enough how much I love Obi. Like, in your performance as Obi.
My entire goal with Obi is just to like get things going, get things started, talk to people, like initiate things, because that's something I got frustrated with Raz.
Yes,
is like she wouldn't always initiate.
Well, Raz was so laconic. Like, it's and so like Raz was like just like Obi versus Raz is like night and day in personalities. Like,
and he turned into just like this gremlin of chaos.
Yeah, he's a kid.
I think directly I was like, oh yeah, he's Encyclopedia Brown and Dennis the Menace, like smushed together. That's Obi.
Exactly. That is.
So yeah, I just try to. I don't know. He's very much like I very much play him by the seat of my pants. I really do. Because he's 10, I don't have to put that much depth into him. Yeah. He doesn't have much of a backstory. He's 10. He hasn't lived that long. He hasn't had that many life experiences as the rest of you. He doesn't care about romantic relationships with other people. He just wants to know if you're down to go play Fortnite. You know?
It's actually one of the reasons that I really enjoy why I enjoy like any of D and Obi's interactions is because Obi is such a open book in that regard, and because D is in a state of arrested development because of a really bad home life. I like the way that she interacts with Obi. I really find it endearing. Partly because I enjoy bouncing bullshit off of you, the player, again, and also because I like that. I like having that backdoor of like the one positive family thing that D has is her sister, and she's trying to replicate that. Probably not doing it very well, but
like it helps that like you and I, Celeste, have this kind of relationship in real life. This is what we do together. Whenever we get together, we're always just like bantering and bullshitting back and forth with each other and watching terrible films. Like, this is what we do. So I think adding our relationship into their relationship is interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot less Guy Ritchie.
I didn't realize I was doing that, but cool.
With D and Obi, but yeah, it's...
And Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. It's like with Amy. With Amy, I was like, Amy was a character who had to be like I needed Amy as my bridging character to get the Stone of Trancura over and to set up the whole thing. And so I was left with the entire concept of Amy. So the funniest thing is that the concept of Amy is she was originally created to be a love interest for Bill in campaign 1. And then it was revealed by Celeste that Bill was asexual. And suddenly that became a story route that was not worth pursuing, right? But
I really want to say that I was trying to give a sexual rep, which I absolutely was, but I also just wasn't comfortable playing those kind of storylines. So I torpedoed it.
It was meant to always...
It makes sense with Bill.
Oh, it makes perfect sense with Bill. And to be fair, the entire relationship, the entire plan I had was that Bill would be awkward and have no idea what to do with a love interest and that nothing would end up happening. But but that meant like her original concept was this like kind of generic cool character, and then I had to figure out how to fuck that up because that's boring, like
we definitely learned that she had some trauma.
Oh well, I gave her trauma. I gave her trauma, sure. And I gave her that dating history, and it went from being like the idea went like she carries herself like she's someone who's confident and knows what's going on a lot of the time. And I've decided it's because she thinks she's someone who's confident and knows what's going on all of the time. But really, she only knows what's going on about 60% of the time. But thinks she knows what's going on 100% of the time. So, and... it's also like introducing disaster elements like the steak knife game, because I was like, if you gave undergrads magical powers and permission to use them?
Yeah, that is exactly what they would do.
Dumb stuff would they come up with? And I was like, steak knife game.
The frickin' steak knife game.
Because it can't be something that would kill you, right? Like, because, they aren't learning how to revive the dead, but so it's got to be a non-lethal wound if you catch it immediately, and so the steak knife game and that was completely the first time we did that. It was completely off the top of my head. Like it was not planned. I just made it. There's so many times with like Amy's stuff where like I have a rough outline of certain things. Like I don't have all of these filled in. I have the number of X's she has and the timeline for when each one happened, but only about half the names are filled in because every time she just goes off on a story, I start writing down whatever I just said. Just so I can be consistent. That. Like it's because like she like in that episode in that hotel, like she starts spouting off like magical theory stuff that I was 100% improving, but that meant like I'm building canon here for the magical systems, and so I have notes.
Well, and I mean, with you GMing most of campaign 1, learning pretty early on to keep those kind of notes.
Oh yeah.
Otherwise, it'll screw you over later.
Because there have been times where I named something and then you guys remembered it and I didn't.
Yup.
Yeah, so...
Yeah. And...
Yeah.
So we've talked a little bit about each of our characters, and I think it'd be very interesting to move on to the various arcs, story arcs in this particular campaign, the ones that we've all the different ones that we've GM'd.
I was actually going to, right before we do that, and I want to do that, is... in the first time we did a Talkback episode, in the middle of campaign 1, we talked about the big twist. There was a big twist in campaign 2 that you guys have gone through, and that is the Fiona and the Quick Smoke Tavern.
Yes.
And I want to know what your guys' thoughts about that reveal and about that setup. About that it's just been one Fiona the whole time.
There's a sadistic part of me that was disappointed from the reveal, if only because I thought it would be really funny if Becca was just kind of slowly going crazy and there was nothing there was like nothing actually afoot. It was just a happy accident.
Yeah. And not just Fiona gaslighting her.
Yeah.
I honestly was relieved. Because the fact that it's the same Fiona throughout all the different times is like, oh, we have a friend nearly anywhere we go who understands us and can help us.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have to go through the entire rigmarole of like convincing them that we're from another universe using pancakes. Like,
the number of times that you guys have just like gone straight out and explained that you're from another reality. And just like
we do not care.
Completely just told the truth to strangers.
Yup. We'll trust anybody.
It's just insane.
We were mostly trying not to, and then we got to the one universe, and that was every single time we had to talk to someone. I
don't know. Dee was pretty much ready to let the cat out of the bag, like right from the get-go.
You exist in a reality where magical disguises are a thing, right? And that there is magic that could exist. So, like I love, especially with the D clear skies, you could have just claimed that D was someone other than D.
Yeah, we could
with a magic spell on her.
Disguised her. Yeah. Oh well.
Oh, that's just remarkable.
But that's not how we do things. We have to do things in the most like chaotic way possible. And obtuse. And that's why I don't know about the rest of you, but when I've GM'd, you guys usually skew off somewhere else than where I was planning.
Oh, you guys always skew off somewhere else than where I was planning. You guys I sometimes I've railroaded you guys, but not often. I've stopped planning where you're going. There's a thing happening. It's there. Let's see where they go. And then that's when I bother coming up with whatever's in the place they're headed. Because inevitably, if I come up with like a trail for you guys, you never take it.
Nope. Why would we?
My favorite thing is that actually, like, sometimes I just assume so when we did the God, what is the name of that arc? The arc in DeKalb, with the time jump. You guys, like, I knew that canonically there were so many tools to find Amy. And I was like, if I don't mention any of them, they're going to find a whole other ass way to find her. That doesn't use any of the easy ways. Yeah, I think it was just Magicless. Yeah, Magicless is the name of that arc. Because of that 6 months. That was all right, so yeah, let's talk about people's favorite arcs. What are people's favorite arcs?
Oh,
again,
favorite arcs. Do they have to be our own? Can we make it harder?
They can be your own, they can be someone else's. Yeah.
Huh.
We've had fewer arcs this campaign because we've had longer arcs.
Okay, favorite that I've run was probably Regency campaign.
That was good.
That was a lot of fun, yeah.
Favorite that I've been in, I gotta say, the medieval town with the dragon one.
I like that
Or-
one.
or
my
Obi just like
gosh.
Dragon Spite.
Like the sudden artillery arc that went on in there. That one also has the bonus of having one of the by far funniest behind the scenes moments, which was the D blowing up D blowing up in the on the car ride out of there, and like we did the ending of that storyline before the meat grinder, and like Becca and I
we did all at the same table. Yeah.
Yeah, we're all at the same table. Becca and I are in character screaming at each other, and like some of the additional Krista and Scott who were the additional players of the meat grinder who were just sitting by, looked deeply concerned and did not catch on that we were in character.
Yeah, because they have no
at each other.
They've just played with us doing the meat grinder and like maybe listened to campaign 1, so they weren't ready for like they had seen us play campaign 1 at a prior meat grinder, so like they had never seen the full blown like the intensity of campaign 2.
Yeah.
Where
that moment was so intense. Like I'm just screaming at D, and then suddenly like my eyes like refocused, and there's Celeste, and we just like laugh, smile and laugh because wow.
Yeah.
In the immortal words of Sir Ian McKellen, acting.
No, it's oh god, no, it's I love like those moments are some of my favorite stuff. I think the Regency one is probably my favorite arc as a player so far. This like I like so much of this season, but I think out of the ones I ran, the Dragon Spite, like the one with the dragon, was probably the more fun to run one. It's just because like it was like so many times, like, you know, you get to like the like you get to like the Magicless one gets really dark at certain points. Like it's a lot of like the Blackened Skies is, you know, plot heavy, and even though it's not like necessarily emotionally all that dark, like the world is pretty dark, and we're dealing with like more like we're dealing with stakes. Like that D dies briefly in that arc. But for out of the ones I've run, Dragon Spite was like the most like lighthearted, like fun one to do. And I think again it does help that we got to finish off the final session of that campaign in person.
Oh, absolutely.
And oh god, my favorite thing in Dragon Spite is D at the university.
That was perfect.
It was complete. I had a loose idea about what this magical university was like, and I was just like, how can I put like D has to be screwed effectively, but I don't want to like put her in like dire physical danger, right? So like, what can I do? And I was just like, use the magical university and just go full.
Of all the characters to get stuck in the magical university, like D would be
worst
like,
person.
He's the worst person.
Yeah.
It's like because Obi's really interested in some of the magic stuff. Liz is studying wards. Amy is literally probably more qualified to teach than the guy who rescued D. Like from you know the professor that we meet. D, literally no least magical elf you've ever met,
and does not give a shit about it either.
Yeah,
just
doesn't want to know anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, wants nothing to do with it. But yeah, like what was it? Was it math that I had them learning, and it was like basic addition?
Yep.
Yeah, it was. I was like, what would the dumbest magical university look like that you've ever thought of? This is it. This is.
Move over, Ankh-Morpork Unseen University. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say it was fun and light to run. But I was going to say the Regency one, I think Hearts and Counterparts is what I ended up naming that arc on the. Yes. I name all the arcs on the website because I do the edit and I do the production. So even if I banged an NPC for probably the first time in a campaign ever.
So this
I made everyone uncomfortable with it.
Not to toot my own horn too much, I cannot tell you how amused I am that not only that I got to force you guys to play out my weird He-Man She-Ra thing.
I was gonna mention that one.
No, that was good. That was good.
But, like,
really
nostalgia
good.
trip, yeah.
Yeah, that one was just everything about, like, the joy. I cannot express to you the joy that I felt introducing Melby into the storyline and how intense his introduction is. Like, the idea of having, like, this borderline horror movie scene to introduce Orko, I just had to go with.
That whole...
I love, like, creatures that are in theory adorable, but are also just monstrous and terrifying. Yeah, Melby, Axel from Campaign 1, Furbies just as a concept. I find them all equally terrifying, so I wanted to share that with the world.
The amazing thing about Nostalgia Trip is that you went full, like, anti-Elon Musk before Elon Musk got a chance to go full mask off.
Yep.
Yeah, I've hated Elon Musk for a very long time. Like, that was I didn't know how well, like, yeah, then, you know, then Twitter got freaking ruined forever. Like, I just hated him because, you know, before the Twitter thing, it, like, long before a lot of people were on the let's hate Elon Musk train, I'm just in the corner being like, this motherfucker's stupid. He's a union busting sack of shit. His trans daughter doesn't want to talk to him. It's probably because he's a piece of why are we all pretending the dumbest man possible is so smart? Like, that's what I think what drove me the most nuts is that I don't want to sound like some fucked up eugenicist or something. Like, I'm not being fucking
I mean, he's a fucked up eugenicist, so
he's a fucked up eugenicist, exactly. Like, I don't want to sound like Idiocracy or some dumb shit like that. It's just, it feels like in the last couple of years, people just keep putting the dumbest motherfuckers on a pedestal. And I've just never liked Elon Musk. I've always thought he came off as a poser dumbass.
Yeah.
And it's...
And it was very satisfying to put his head on a pike.
I did. I put his head on a stick. And that is the arc that, like, really kind of, like, stepped up the stuff between Amy and Liz too.
Yeah, that. Yeah. Also, okay, I am gonna toot my own horn on this one. I really was proud of naming the She-Ra XP Princess Approachabella. Like, I just thought that was
such a dumb name.
Like, I don't know why. I was really proud of Approachabella.
All of these attractive, barely clothed people, and none of them seem to have any sexual chemistry with anyone. Except for Princess Approachabella and the villain.
Yeah, the Southern Sorceress.
Yeah. Southern Sorceress.
Yeah, I was actually going to lean. There were actually a lot of the. I ended up thinking it would take up too much time. The other generals were going to be other right-wing dipshits. Like, the Teal Guard was going to be my riff on Peter Thiel, for example. That was a
like Lauren Southern was your...
Yeah,
okay.
that was Southern.
Okay, I had to think about that for a minute because
I just was like, I was angry. I was angry, and I was watching bad toy cartoons, and that's really where this all came from.
Woof. So Becca, what's your favorite arc?
My favorite was Hearts and Counterparts. It's amazing. It's perfect.
Well, and
that makes total sense because you're the one who came up with the idea initially.
I'm not really.
Well, you said something.
I said on Discord that Pride and Prejudice is Liz's favorite book or something like that.
Yeah, something about Regency, and I'm just like, hot dog.
Well, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the scene where Liz and Amy were drinking.
Yes.
As they're trying to figure out how to become friends again. Like I just like Amy getting pissed at other Amy for being like the worst fucking bodyguard. Just like getting mad at her. Like it was, oh god, no, it's.
Hey, I didn't say your counterparts were going to be good versions.
No, it was great. It was great. I loved Liz. I love like all of Liz's stuff of like getting like stuck in this situation of like in her counterparts thing. I actually genuinely I genuinely loved like Liz calling out the nonsense that like Amy and Dee had like gotten on board with like this heist plan, and then like Liz going, "What the fuck is wrong with you?"
Man, and I was ready for the heist, y'all.
Yeah, I know, right?
The players know this because I bitched and moaned about it after we got done playing. But like I said, I have a treasure table.
I'm so sorry, I ruined your heist.
For them to loot. And like I set up like, okay, here's what you roll. Here are the 25-pound, or $25 quote unquote art objects. Here are the $250, like you could really get away. Or here's the $750, here's the $2,500. Like I was just like, yeah, you get away with a full set of armor.
I really enjoyed like that whole thing. Like doing fish out of water stuff with Dee was a whole lot of fun, but what was even more fun was awkwardly like trying to calm people down as like gory violence was taking place at their wedding. Like just
Yeah.
I mean,
I enjoyed picking up what's his face and dropping him from a great height.
Luke.
I was like, I can fly, and there are now fall damage rules.
I had so many like crazy notes. I was gonna have Regency D ask RD for a dance and see how that went. Have Regency Brent ask our Liz for a dance.
that would have been awkward.
I assumed we were doing
They did dance once, right? They did dance.
Yeah, I thought they did.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Gen, and I have a shit memory.
Like that happened like right after we got there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we were suddenly swept into the whole thing. Like so many things happened that I forget. Like I forgot you guys met Royce in like the second arc.
Yeah, we just can't be rid of Royce for whatever reason.
He's okay. Well, I mean, also like that was a so that entire Clear Skies arc was literally minor behind the scenes for people is that I had to come up with that arc really fast because some prep wasn't done and for like other stuff, and I had this like half-formed arc, and I was just like, rather than try to make someone else run something that wasn't quite ready yet, I was just like, I'll run something that isn't ready yet. Very confidently. And I had the idea that the truck got stolen. Is what it started. And actually, so the fun fact is the D Clear Skies being a weather woman in that universe, was a roll of the dice of what ridiculous thing can I have D be, and then while the truck got stolen, I started coming up with what the heck would have had to have happened for D to have become a famous meteorologist. And then it was she's clearly done something. She's cheating. D's found a way around it. And so, like, I stream of conscious, but because I was stream of conscious, I was like, I need an NPC for something. Campaign 1.
Yep.
And so almost every NPC from Campaign 1 showed up, including Royce. And Royce is, he's just such a great, bland villain.
Well, it also helps that, like, we established that, like, the same characters can show up again and again and again, like, even ourselves. Yeah.
And I wanted to use, it's Royce right away was because, you were in a universe where, with the Amy's counterpart, was this much more important person in that universe, and was key in defeating Hollowell. Like, what's interesting is because the circumstances of Campaign 1 involve NK, and NK, as we've established in the first arc of Campaign 2, is not from the universe. Like, she's a traveler from between worlds who just doesn't have any memory of who she is. And so that means that every other universe you find where they successfully defeated Hollowell cannot be exactly like the one you left. Right? Mm-hmm. Like, it has to, and so every time we go somewhere that I want it to be a lot like your home universe, that means I have to come up with, how did they defeat Hollowell? like how did things go differently in this one? Like in Magicless, you guys called. Liz keeps calling Stormwood and Associates.
I'm waiting for it to blow up in her face. Yeah, I'm waiting for Stormwood to be like, this is a problem. We need to deal with this. But it hasn't happened yet.
Well, it's because she keeps calling them and not the cops. It's because Stormwood is a private agency.
Yeah.
In Magicless, I was just like, well, Liz Stormwood doesn't exist in this universe, so, because Ethan Stormwood doesn't exist in this universe. So figure it out. And then you guys called Kel.
That was fun.
Which I was not expecting, and so I had to have Celeste play Bill.
Uh-huh.
To be fair, actually, I was originally preparing to play Bill, and then Celeste started piping in as Bill.
Yeah, this is how I roll.
You don't give up on that opportunity.
No, you don't. And we got to play the husband's version of Kel and Bill. Which I actually kind of because I've been shipping Kel and Bill for a while, ever since Vegas. They have a shared love of musicals.
It's true. It's true.
They have a really interesting dynamic, and now that Kel is non-corporeal, and therefore no longer has a sex drive that he can do anything about, at least, it makes perfect sense. They're the great. I think it's a great romance.
I just love how this particular team, we try to come up with solutions that we think are perfectly logical. Really, Obi's yeah, duh. Here, let me talk to him. I'm a child. People will believe me. It's worked before.
Well, the problem is now Obi has bullshit, so Obi can actually convince people of stuff as an ability.
Yes.
So,
and I'm here for it.
I don't know. I'm just like, is D ever going to find love? Is D capable of finding love? I technically gave D a love interest for a story, but then made her forget it.
Uh-huh.
Because I didn't know what your comfort level was with it, so I was just like,
it's
fine
so
if
weird.
she doesn't
Like,
remember.
I know D has had a way, I'll say D has had a way more interesting sexual history than me. I know that much, but like,
That was my way around it, because I was like, you've pretty much established in character that like D has a sexual history, would be, could get involved with people, and like, so it wasn't like with Bill, you know what I mean? So I was like, there's a time jump. I can get that into her, I can add that to her texture and not make Celeste have to role play it if she doesn't want to, because this person is suddenly a stranger to her.
Yup.
Yeah, this season is much more about interpersonal relationships.
I know.
And a lot less about there's a big evil we got to defeat.
There is a big evil, but technically you don't have to defeat it. Like, that's the interesting thing, is like there is this looming threat to the multiverse, right? Like, there is like this whole, like, there is the Dark Lord who is taking over other realities. But you're in a weird position where, like, he tried to take over yours. He literally tried and failed. That's how you ended up in this whole mess.
Yeah.
And so it's like, honestly, it's like there's the genuine question of, like, do our heroes at some point try to deal with this situation, or are they just going to try to get home? You know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think at some point, like, they haven't gotten to the point where they're going to have to make a choice about that, but at some point they may have to make a choice about that.
But the interesting thing is, like, this group, as we've seen so far, is not, like, it's a bit morally corrupt.
Liz just doesn't want to help anybody.
That's not exactly true. Liz has reasons for doing everything she does.
Yeah, and her main reason is that she's a white suburbanite who doesn't want to get involved. Actually, she's not she's like upper class. Like, the funny thing is that, like, I have the society that Liz grew up in. I actually have family members who, like, not close family members, but like cousins out far enough into that kind of world. None who will give me money. People, please contribute to my Patreon. I am poor. Dear cousins who have money, please contribute to my Patreon. They don't listen to
Perhaps
my
with
podcasts.
your help, you could give me money.
They didn't. Yeah, anyways. But, like, it's, I don't know, like, the world that Liz, like, existed in is like, we're thinking like Lake Forest stuff, like, it's just wild. Like, it makes perfect sense that Liz is the kind of person who doesn't want to get involved, at least from Amy's point of view. Like, it's the problem is that I don't know what's going on in Liz's head in those moments, right? Yeah. Like, I don't know why you're playing, but I know exactly how it looks to Amy, who Amy is privileged middle class who doesn't think she's privileged. Because again, she's 100% convinced she knows what's going on all the time, and she's prepared for it, and she, somehow understands the experiences of everybody else, because that's what she's like. Because it's fun to play a character that unaware of her own flaws, and blind spots. Like, it's just like, oh, the rich girl doesn't want to get involved. Like, just thinks the status quo will take care of everything. Like, literally calls the family business every time something might be going wrong. Like, that's what she's seeing. And so like it's it as a player, it's great when I'm playing and Liz does that shit, right? Like it's when Liz is like, oh, maybe we should just let that happen. Let's go over here. Like when Liz does that stuff, like as a player, it's really fun to be playing Amy in those situations. When I'm GMing, it drives me nuts because I'm like, I'm trying to get you guys to do the adventure. I guess we could just run a session of you guys sitting in the quick smoke doing nothing while Fiona glares at you. Like, we could do that, I guess. Like,
but I mean, that's why I've made Obi like,
oh yeah, no, it's Obi
excitable and let's do the thing, let's go. Like,
yeah.
Oh, we don't know a thing? Hey, a random person, I'm gonna talk to you. Because he doesn't see like any other like. He doesn't see anything wrong with like trying like getting information.
Yeah.
And just like assuming that like, hey, everyone's gonna be friendly towards me.
Yeah, because he's the optimistic innocence of a child. Oof. I don't know. I genuinely cannot get enough of Obi. Like it's just like I can't get enough of your performance as Obi. It's so great. Like, and it's just such night and day compared to like Raz in like,
yeah.
I just also want to like comment on like your progress as like a role player and like coming through it, like, cause yeah, like, and like you hadn't really run a lot of stuff before Stormwood, had you, right, Ken?
I had not run anything.
I know, and like kind of
I've
like,
never run a D&D game. I've been in a few D&D games in high school.
Yeah.
But that was pretty much my role-playing experience. It's like I didn't have a lot. And now I have a monthly D&D game with my friends, and I think doing Stormwood helped me with my D&D character and like playing him as because both my characters right now are little chaos gremlins. So
but like also like seeing your progress as a GM from like your first adventure you did back in campaign 1 through
yes, I was so nervous.
But like through like your like the Regency arc is like pretty much most of our like our favorite arc from this campaign.
Yeah.
Like
yeah, no, and for that one I finally learned to not write like to loosen up, basically. Just loosen the story up and like learn to like improv and to play off of what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
And to just like, oh, they want to go here, okay, let's like pull crap out of my brain and like invent things on the fly.
Yeah. Well, and I think
and it took me a bit to like get to that realization, like, oh, I'm not writing a story.
Yeah.
Like I'm not writing a book for them to like plod through, because they don't know what I'm thinking. They don't know what I have written down.
Right. Well, I think that like I completely lost my thought there. It's
I'll come back. But no, and I don't know, it's just one of these things where like if you practice it, you get better at it.
Yeah.
And it's being a player, being a GM. The more times you do it, the better you get at it, the more comfortable you get doing it. And therefore you give a better performance.
Well, and I think that campaign 2 is really interesting compared to campaign 1, because, you know, most actual play shows just have a singular GM. And we rotate. And I describe it as I'm the meta GM, where I'm running the central arc, but we all end up GMing storylines. And I think that the big difference between campaign 1 and campaign 2 is that with campaign 1, you like campaign 1 had some freedoms that, like, because we're doing a procedural, you don't have to like justify why the characters are going to do anything, right? The call to action is easy. It's here's the job, let's go do the job. But campaign, and so like that gives a little bit of freedom of like not having to like figure a way to guide the players into taking the thing, right, that we sometimes have to deal with now in campaign 2. But because campaign 2 is this multiverse story, right? Like when you do have to improv stuff, like when you improv things, like when we would improv stuff in campaign 1, there's a very specific instance where we had Brittany guest GM'd, and she started like changing stuff about the world that I had to then incorporate into it, right? Like I had to suddenly revise world building because, as a GM, she made declarations about things as true. And I had to change and modify those. In campaign 2, that's not a concern because every world is its own world, right? Like if you improv something about the city that we're in or the world that we're in, any of that stuff, you don't have to worry about being consistent with the meta narrative. You don't have to worry about being consistent with this shared world that we were all working in. You can just have it happen, right? Like there's so much more freedom in that, where you can choose to copy the pre-existing universes that we have. So like you can use the guidelines that we've already set up for like the most common stuff in realities. But if you want to just make up some shit, or if you need something for your story that contradicts the world building we've had in other universes, it all works, right? Like we could just do shit.
And I want to add in a little point that maybe has attributed to my change in play style is like I'm not the main character anymore.
Yeah, you're not the Stormwood.
Like being Raz could be a little difficult at times because like the main story was like relying on her. And so I felt like, oh, I have to like play her a certain way and like have her make these certain decisions to help, do the main plot. But Obi's a free agent and I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
Like I was so pleased when Becca stepped up and said that she'd be the Stormwood.
We were almost gonna make, no matter what, we weren't gonna make you be the Stormwood again. We did joke about forcing Celeste to be the Stormwood before Becca was like, no, I want to be the Stormwood. Yeah. I don't know, maybe in campaign 3 I'll be the Stormwood.
Well, and I love to compare Liz and Raz as the main Stormwoods.
Oh god, they're so different.
Like, oh, it's great. What a dichotomy.
Well,
yeah.
It's because Raz is the daughter of like the old, like the line of Stormwoods, like the oldest child of the oldest child of the oldest child of the, like all the way back to to the beginning, versus like Liz is just like one of the branches. And Raz had the pressure of you need to be in charge and you need to be a leader, where Liz's involvement is a little different in the company. You know what I mean? I don't know if you want to talk about that, Becca.
Yeah, I just like when I created Liz, I knew that I needed to make her different from Raz and different from Amy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because she was the other Stormwood, and Amy because she was the other character I knew was coming in. I just decided to make her, like that. Not a cool person.
A sometimes nervous, uptight blonde with glasses. I guess Bill didn't wear glasses, but wearing a pantsuit. She's completely.
She wears a skirt
type.
usually.
I know, but skirt suit, but still, wearing a suit.
Wearing Keds.
I know. I love the Keds. They're such a great touch. It's such an image.
Yeah.
Oh, So you were planning on Amy being into her immediately, right? That was the.
No, I mean, okay. Going into this, I was like, okay, I'm not gonna start anything, but I'm hoping that Liz gets to kiss one of these girls.
Well, because Amy's crush on Bill was Amy kissed Bill in campaign 1. Yeah. Honestly, Amy kissed Bill at the roll of a dice. Like her becoming a love interest was a clear roll of dice. And in campaign 1, I was like, Amy, when leaving, is going to kiss either Babbitt or Bill, depending on how this dice rolls. And I rolled it. It was Bill, and I was like, oh, this is funny. Or like that this random, like, very attractive young woman is super into Bill. It was just the funniest thing in the world to me during campaign 1.
But now I'm thinking about what would have happened if she kissed Babbitt and how wild that combination would have been.
She 100% would be more than willing to make out with Babbitt. She did make out with Babbitt. It just turned out to be a murderer Babbitt.
Yeah.
Oops. I have never role-played a character who has been this forward before. And I think it's in part because she never gets to go home.
How many different people has Amy kissed in this campaign?
Okay, so Liz, the Babbitt. I don't remember if it was more than one Babbitt, but it was at least one Babbitt. Obviously, what's his face? The
Highwayman.
The Highwayman. Yeah, I have his name written down somewhere, so I was gonna go pull it up, but I'm not gonna bother. The Highwayman. And then I think that's it. I think that's just those 3. She 100% was going to try to flirt with that pirate, but that we scared her off. But yeah, no, it's that's just what she's like. I don't know. And you know what? It's like, if you look at the amount of time that has passed in the story and like it's actually like not that weird. You know what I mean? It's just, we never have like escapes. Like, you know what I mean? It's like Kel was a far more promiscuous character back in campaign 1, but he did all of it off screen. Like his personality, was very much part of him, but like you only saw him at the office. You never saw him at home. Like you never see Kel's home. I guess until Kel's just in a gem. And then I guess you see Kel's home. Versus it's such a weird thing. Like it's such a different vibe. I like that it's a different vibe. I like it's so much more personal. Well, it's funny because it's so much more personal, but no NPC is permanent, right? Like there's no Mikhail Enrich. Like I guess there's Fiona, but I guess like the whole thing where Amy knows that Fiona's a god, she's maybe a little. Yeah, she's not into her. Like it's just like I don't have an like that's literally like the only consistent NPC versus like the other campaigns where like we had the woman who killed her husband who ran the used furniture store, or Mikhail Enris, or like
the entire ARC team.
Yeah.
We had the
there's no Barrow. I mean, I guess Barrow Mackay. There was a Barrow Mackay, but
there was a Barrow Mackay,
but not in the way that like there's no sexy car thieves. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, like again, they did cameo, but like that version of the sexy car thieves will never be seen again, even if another version of the sexy car thieves shows up. Like, so you can't have like a Dolores Arcturus like relationship. Like Raz's relationship with Dolores was something that we could build over multiple arcs because it was a recurring NPC, but like you don't get that, you know. So it's all like the relationships between these 4 people and each other, you know, and then Like, I don't know. Is like Liz doesn't strike me as the kind of person to have a one night stand. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I don't think D's very attractive, but D's not charismatic enough to pull it off half the time with the kinds of people that we keep meeting.
That's fair. That's fair.
Also, again, I think there's a I get the impression that you as a player don't really want to explore that route.
Not really, no. It's yeah.
Eventually, I want to learn what D's last name is.
We'll get around to it.
Players, listeners, none of us know what D's last name is. We know Obadiah's full name. We know Liz's name. We know Amy's full name. All we have is D. If you want to know why we don't list the last names of characters on the website, we just list first names. It's because I didn't know what to put down for D's last name.
Yep.
Did we learn what the D stands for?
No.
I don't. Yeah.
Technically, sort of.
Or
because D was able to ask,
that's a dead name, and that doesn't count.
Dead name.
Those don't count.
Yeah, that doesn't count. We know it's not Deidre because she had that crossed out when because Fiona assumed D was short for that and gave her that name tag. If you want to know why, like when D was working at the Quick Smoke in DeKalb, and she didn't know, and she her name tag was the name Deidre with everything crossed out, but the D was because canonically Fiona assumed that D was short for Deidre. That's it. That's so we know it's not that. God, yeah, it's got to bring back.
I assume that Liz probably knows D's name because
Liz
of
has
legal
to.
reasons.
Liz has to know. Liz knows D's full legal name. It's in the paperwork that's in the back of the truck, in the pocket behind the passenger seat.
But don't you love it when your character knows something but you don't? Oh, I get so frustrated by that sometimes.
Yeah,
I do it a lot in my D&D game. I'm just like, eh.
I live for it.
Oh, so, what are you guys? Okay, is there any kind of universe that you guys are hoping to visit?
I don't know. I mean, I have ideas for future
the things
campaigns that I might run.
Things that you aren't planning to run yourself.
That's the thing.
So, if we ever do anything with the sexy car thieves again, unlike all the other times, I have actually seen most of the Fast and or Furious movies.
Oh ho ho!
So I actually will understand the jokes now. So that's yeah.
I mean, mostly I like to just think of where have we not been that would be fun?
Yeah.
And that ended up in the underwater thing, which was probably not a good idea to have it be so close to an IP, but that's okay. We lived.
Look, it's shockingly bio is legally distinct. It's a storyline from any property owned by any major video game publisher.
Yeah, that was not my best work.
Yeah, it was still we still got, hey, look, we got to reveal some trauma.
Yeah, that was the main nugget we got from that arc was Amy trauma.
Amy trauma.
Ugh.
I don't know, maybe a noir universe.
That would be fun.
Where the universe is literally black and white.
That would be very fun. Obi would have a heck of a time being an investigator and a thief.
We're all level 5, so we're all going to re-archetype soon.
Ooh.
I'm just like I guess what I look forward to in the future is randomly discovering a new podcast, making it my whole personality for a month, and then hoping no one notices my fixation on that podcast before I use it as inspiration for my next story I run. Like, because that's definitely not what I have done previous to now.
I mean, I'm surprised you haven't come up with like an Arthurian pseudo world.
That
isn't fate.
That isn't fate. I actually avoided a lot of the fate Arthurian stuff because that's where it gets pretty weird, honestly.
That was campaign 1.
Yeah, that was
yeah.
What do we call that one? I'm trying to remember. Like,
I remember I named the notes for it "Destined Stay Back," but I don't remember what we named the arc.
I think I called an episode that. Let me pull up the Stormwood page and scroll down through the arc names. Because we have like great like Morris by Night and Dope Magic and Challenge of the Robots, which is a GoBots reference. Everyone appreciate my GoBots reference.
I
the Sangreal is what we called that.
Sangreal, yeah.
Yes.
I did call an episode Hate Slay Fight.
Okay.
That was what we called the finale for that one. And Destined Stay Back was the second episode of that arc.
Excellent.
Yeah. That arc had a No Tell Motel as the first one, then Destined Stay Back, Squish Starburst, Gathering Storm, Murder Hotel, then Hate Slay Fight was the finale for it.
We'll see if there's probably some bit of weird mythological nonsense that I can draw from, maybe I'll
Yeah, because like I have some ideas, but I can't.
Don't reveal anything you want to do.
Don't do them on the.
Don't reveal anything you're planning on running.
I'm about to say obviously. Talk to me about it later.
I have ideas for places we have not been.
Okay.
Remember that Lord of the Rings turned out the way it was, partly because Tolkien had friends who were mythology buddies who read each other's stories.
I just want to point out, I had a plan. I had a plan where the truck was going to drive out on a spaceship, and then Becca went and did that.
Sorry. Oops.
Yeah.
It was going to be very different, but the opening of like the truck drives out on a spaceship was there, but
Yeah.
I will say I love the thing of the current arc is that like just our characters trying to just like ask questions using pop culture references that make no sense to the people they're asking them to. Like,
that's pretty fun.
Is this a Trek or a Wars? Oh, so it's like a early Expanse. Like, that was great. All right, so we've been doing this for about an hour and 15 minutes. We should wrap things up. Does anyone have anything else they want to say to our listeners before we close this thing out?
Thank you for listening.
Yeah.
We appreciate the heck out of you.
That's so sweet of you.
Thank you.
I can't believe that.
Yeah. Everyone who's gotten so invested in our stories.
And thank you everyone listening on the Discord. Everyone who's on the Discord. If you're not part of the Nerd and Tie Podcast Network Discord, go to nerdandtie.com/Discord to join the Discord. Because it's Discord. I can say Discord a lot more times in this sentence. Discord. And I guess we're supposed to. In theory, we should always end episodes on a hook. So everybody, roll initiative.
Oh dear. Oh, okay.
What did you get, Celeste?
I rolled a 3.
Okay, so you're fodder. We're all fodder. So you're at a 6.
Okay.
What do you get? What do you get, Ken?
10. If I was Obi, y'all be messed up.
What do you get, Becca?
He is so fast.
I got a 6.
All right. Then Becca will go in front of Celeste because Becca's name is alphabetically earlier. All right. So Gen, all right. You're up first. Actually, no, you're not. Because the bad guy got an initiative of 11.
Heck.
Who is just called bad guy, and you all take. They're casting a spell that's not in the manual.
Heck.
Oh, biscuits.
And you all take 13 damage. You're all fodder. Sorry, you're all gone.
Oh, man.
All right.
Dang it.
That's the end of the episode, everybody.
One round of combat, we're done.
Stormwood and Associates is a production of Nerd and Tie. You can find more information at nerdandtie.com/Stormwood. You can also find us on social media at Nerd and Tie on Twitter, nerdandtie.tumblr.com, and facebook.com/nerdandtie. This podcast can be subscribed to on anywhere that major podcasts are found: iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Podbean, and quite a few other places, and anywhere that takes an RSS feed as well. Hey, while you're still here, let me tell you about another podcast on the Nerd and Tie Network, and that's Let's Be Legendary. Let's Be Legendary, the Fey Wild West, is a 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons actual play game, so an actual play game like this one, but like, you know, in a system people actually use in the real world. Set in a homebrew Wild West steampunk world, the Fey Wild West follows 2 people discovering what it means to be in a relationship, all the while seeking revenge and learning the truth of their pasts. Let's Be Legendary podcast is an LGBTQ+ podcast with both main and minor characters, as well as players falling under the queer blanket. A heavy RP game with a focus on story and characters, and you can hear it every week here on the Nerd and Tie Network, and you can find all of their subscription information and links at nerdandtie.com/legendary.